Hey everyone, I'm kalimsiYT and today I'm back with another speed build and I'm going to be building a row of suburban houses. And the lot that I am doing this on is Garden Essence, which you can see in the top left hand corner of the screen. That's the lot that I believe the Roomies household is in normally whenever you boot up a fresh save. So the household that has Travis Scott, Liberty Lee, Summer Holiday, that group of Sims, they usually live here. However, for my save file, which this build is going to be a part of, I decided to kick them out and bulldoze their house and put these in here instead and do a group of 3 different houses. And the main reason why I decided to do that is because in this neighborhood, which this is the starter neighborhood of Willow Creek that I'm building in, it just seems kind of dead. Usually I feel like there's not really a whole lot going on gameplay wise whenever I do play with Sims in here, and so I think having some more houses is just an opportunity to kind of liven that up a bit and just have more households that your Sims can interact with. And one thing that I'm sure you guys noticed whenever this video started is that I didn't start on a blank lot like I usually do. And the reason for this is that way before my YouTube channel started, I actually tried an attempt at building this. I wanted to do the 3 separate lots thing, but it didn't go super well. You can see that the house on the right is the only one that kind of has an exterior that's pre-furnished or pre-done already, and the reason for that is because I liked how that one turned out, and so I kept it, and I didn't want to get rid of it and then start from scratch again. And so I just decided that I would record me doing the other 2 houses that I wanted to redo. And I also still have some fencing in from my previous attempt, and the reason why I did that is because I wanted to know the different boundaries for each hypothetical lot that these houses are going to take up. And since there are 3 houses on one lot, this means that this lot is a residential rental type, and that came with the For Rent expansion pack. So whenever you do move your Sims in here, or if you play like with this lot in general, you're gonna have to move them into each individual unit. And so since there are 3 houses, there will be 3 units, and you'll have to have like the landlord and do that type of gameplay. So as you can see, I am currently working on the exterior of the houses, and overall the framing of it went together pretty quickly, and so did the roofing, which is nice because I feel like whenever I do, like, I map out the general framing or the roofing of a build, it either takes like no time at all like this one, or it takes forever and I can't decide on anything. So I'm glad that these ones went together pretty quickly, and as you can see now, I am working on the exterior details of the leftmost house, or I guess we'll call it the first house. And for this one I decided to go with the growing it together doors and windows for that, and I don't use those super duper often, so I'm glad that I was able to kind of utilize that for this. And I'm also using some base game siding. I think there are like 2 base game like plain sidings in the game, and one of them is like a lot thinner than that one, and I use that one so much, but I don't really use the one that I currently use for this house a whole lot. And I didn't even know that this light blue color even existed, and so when I saw it in the catalog when I was building this, I kind of decided that I had to use it, and I think it goes pretty well with the windows, and so I used that. And I'm also going in and doing some landscaping now for really the entire lot. I used a lot of debug landscaping, which you can access if you go into the cheat window, you put on bb.show hidden objects and then bb.show live edit objects. That's one way you can do it. I just have the Better Build and Buy mod, so that has organized debug, and it puts all the plants in my build catalog already for me, and all the other debug items as well. And so that's how I did it, and it's really handy and I really recommend it. But if you're wondering how I got those plants, because you normally don't see them whenever you open the build catalog, that's how I got them. And what's really nice is that those plants are free and they don't cost anything, so I can put them in while not adding to the cost of the lot. And since these builds are in a starter neighborhood, I didn't want the houses to be super duper expensive, so that was really helpful, as well as giving me like just some more landscaping options than I would normally have. Sometimes I can find doing landscaping a little bit challenging, but breaking down this lot into 3 separate houses and then kind of viewing each little house as its own lot and then doing the landscaping for that honestly made it so much easier than it normally is, and it was just so much more manageable. And I think that because I can put different trees, plants, that whole combination, it just made it just a lot more fun to do. I feel like I'm not terrible at landscaping, but I find it hard sometimes to kind of keep the same plant scheme going throughout the entire lot, because at some point I feel like you just kind of run out of different ways to make it look nice. So that's an aspect of building that I am actively trying to improve on. I don't want to revert to using the same plants over and over again. And I think with this build, I did step a little bit out of my comfort zone by using some more of the debug plants than I normally do. But in the future, I definitely want to play around with that. I think at some point in my save file, hopefully in the near future, in that park lot in Willow Creek, I want to build a botanical garden there and have it as an area where your Sims can go visit and harvest plants if they need it, walk around, just relax, I guess, at the park. But I think that will be a good way to push myself out of my comfort zone with landscaping there, because if it's a botanical garden, that's what there's going to be, is just a lot of landscaping. And so at some point, hopefully in the near future, I will make that, and I will of course upload that as a build on the channel as well. So now you can currently see that I am working on the exterior details of the second or the middle house, and this one was a little bit more challenging for me. I wasn't quite sure with the color scheme I wanted to go for here. On the first house, so the one on the left that I just did, I did a more white light color scheme, and I didn't really want to copy that through because I don't really like it when every Sims house has like that same white light different color scheme, which I think is very trendy right now. It's not bad or anything, I just don't want all of my houses to look like that, because in real life that's not the case. Not every house is going to have that, especially because those are usually like more updated houses. And in this part of this neighborhood, I really don't imagine that all of them are going to be updated. And so I went with more of a brown color scheme for this house, and that is consistent on the interior as well, which you'll see when we get to that. And as far as windows are concerned, you can just see I just had some, I think they were from Discovery University, and I just end up, I believe, putting the cats and dogs windows set in there, and I think it works pretty well. I don't use that one super often, but I do feel like I should use it more because it is a pretty solid set. My only gripe with it is that I wish it came in more colors, and I guess I could probably say that for just about any item in this game. I will always take more colors when it comes to items. But yeah, I used that set, and then I used the growing together columns, and I don't really use those a whole lot, and so it was really nice to have a chance and an opportunity to kind of use them in this build. And doing so, I was able to make pretty big porches on both the front and the back side of the house, which I was then able to furnish. So since there are 3 houses on one lot here, and this is in the starter neighborhood, these houses are obviously not going to be the biggest. On the left side, the first house that I kind of did in the speed build, that one has 2 bedrooms, and then this middle one that I'm doing here has 3 bedrooms, and then the house on the very right, that is going to have 4 bedrooms, but they're going to be 4 kind of small bedrooms. I feel like recently the speed builds that I've been doing on my channel and just builds I've been doing in my own time have been kind of larger scale builds, and I enjoy doing larger scale builds. I know that's not everyone's favorite, and it used to not be mine for a while, but lately I've really been enjoying doing longer, larger scale speed builds, and so it's nice to be able, granted this, I still think this is kind of a large scale speed build since it is 3 houses. However, whenever you break it down into an individual level. Like each house is pretty small, and I really enjoyed having a smaller floor plan to work with, really kind of finding the way to maximize the space. And I think as a result, the houses turned out pretty nice, pretty cozy, something that I feel like I would see in real life if I were going into these houses, which I think sometimes in builds it's really easy to make it look nice, but it doesn't really look like something that you would encounter in the real world. And that's kind of something that I want to have in my save file when I'm done. I want it to look nice, I want it to look like good and still be pretty, but at the same time I do want there to be an element of realism to it, and that is kind of hard to replicate in The Sims, so I'm trying my best. So at the time of me recording this voiceover, it is Christmas Eve, so Merry Christmas to everyone who celebrates, and just a happy holiday in general to everyone. I hope you guys are all, spending time with family and just having a good time, I guess. But I don't know when this video is going to come out. It could be Christmas Eve, could be Christmas Day, maybe a little bit after. I'm not quite sure yet. I think it'll be kind of soon. And if you're watching this video like way in the future, this isn't important. But yeah, hope everyone has a good holiday. Since I've been home for winter break, for school, I have been spending a decent amount of time with family, which has been fun, and I've been trying to keep up with doing this channel a lot more, and so yeah, that's been a lot of fun. I've really just been kind of delving into different hobbies now that I actually have some time to work on them. So this is one of them. I've also been doing a bit of crocheting, and I've also been getting into sourdough bread making, and I've been doing that for a few months now. But now that I'm home a lot, I have the time to really kind of work at it, because doing that hobby really requires some time. Like whenever you start making bread, you kind of need to be home and to do the stretch and fold process, but then also just to kind of make sure it's rising, and when to properly know it's done with fermenting. And so I've really been able to just have time to do the things that I kind of want to do, and things I've been wanting to, or just different hobbies I've been wanting to explore, which has been a lot of fun. And I think, especially since the holidays are starting to wrap up soon, I will have even more time to work on this, which I'm pretty excited about. I'm currently filming some lore videos for the save file, and I've been wanting to do like a let's build where you kind of build with me, if that makes sense, or you just watch me build and I kind of talk while I do it, as just kind of a new approach to me instead of just doing these speed builds. So yeah, that's something I'm currently working on, and you can see now that I am working on the interior of the first house. So the house on the very left that had the light blue siding and the white windows, that is the interior I am working on. And right now I'm currently going in and doing the kitchen. You can see that I am using the counters and the flooring from For Rent in there. And yeah, I really like those counters. I wasn't expecting to use them as much as I do. If you watch my last speed build, I redid the goth house and I used those in there as well. And yeah, I'm just surprised that I'm using them as much as I am. And just like my other speed builds, this house does have a family in mind for it and kind of an overarching storyline for it as well. So in general, the Sims that I imagined living here is an adult and then her mom. And the adult woman, she is a preschool teacher or an elementary school teacher of some sort. She works with little kids essentially, and her mother, her father died a while back and her mom moved in after that, and so they've been living together kind of under the assumption, that like she'll have someone to hang out with, someone to take care of her in her older age. And yeah, so she's an elementary school teacher, and she recently met a boyfriend while doing like a parent-teacher conference. That's kind of what I was imagining, and as a result she has been hanging out with him a lot, and that has kind of created tensions in the household. Like her mother is a little jealous because she moved in to spend more time with her daughter, and now she's off hanging out with her new boy, and she doesn't really like that, and so the relationship is just a little strained as a result. And so that's and then she also has a cat as well. And yeah, that's kind of the household that I had in mind here. As you can see, the decorations are pretty nice, pretty new. I kind of also thought that maybe after the dad of the household died, she got a decent amount of inheritance that she then used to kind of fix up her house to make it look a little bit nicer. This one is definitely I would say it has the most updated interior out of the three, but I do like it. I think it looks pretty nice. And you can see in just a second I'm going to be moving into the living room, and I didn't really think it was going to be super difficult to furnish, but it actually was pretty hard. And really, I think the main reason for that is one, the shape of it, and then two, the different couches and chairs we have available in this game. So originally I had the fireplace on that exterior wall there, and I was trying to fit in some seating around that, but I didn't really have enough room to do so, and it just looked kind of weird. And so I then changed it to how it is now that you're seeing it in the video. And then from there I had to figure out proper chairs, love seats, couches to put in there. And again, space was kind of an issue, but also they just don't match with each other. It's so hard to find matching couches, love seats, chairs in the game that go well with each other. And I feel like in newer packs, they're not putting like the full couch, love seat, chair combo together. They're only doing one or two of those, which I guess they probably do it so that there's more room to put different build items in, because I don't know if there's like a certain cap for the amount of build items they can have. But it's just kind of frustrating because it makes furnishing living rooms a little bit harder, and I did cut out my indecisiveness while furnishing this. There's a lot of footage of me just putting couches in and then deleting them and then doing that over and over and over again. And so I just included what I had kind of decided on at the end of that, because I don't really feel like it's really fun to watch me just place an item and then delete it and then do that over and over and over again. And what's really nice about the change in this living room configuration from having the fireplace on the exterior wall to the interior wall is that it allowed me to have some extra room to kind of play around with. So you can see right now I currently put in a piano and putting some clutter above that. I'm so glad that Growing Together added a piano that is a lot smaller than the normal base game one, because we do have pianos that have come in the base game, but they're the really big grand pianos, and so I found I could never use them in build mode really. Like I'd only ever include them in really fancy rich houses because most of the time I just didn't have the space for them. But with the addition of that piano in Growing Together, it really kind of has allowed me to put more instruments and pianos in general into my builds, which I really enjoy because I think a lot of people have smaller pianos in their house. I don't think, many people really have those big grand pianos that come with the base game, but the piano that I placed in here, I feel like that's more realistic. Anyways, so I put that in, and then I also put in a cat tree, and that is from the Cats and Dogs expansion pack, obviously, and I really don't use cat trees a whole lot in my builds either, so it was really nice to kind of have the room for that and kind of just give the cat a different place to kind of hang out, because usually I just kind of place a bed, maybe a scratching post, and call it a day. So I like that I was able to kind of have a whole area. And then right now I just finished furnishing that little front porch area, and I think with the holiday login event that they're currently doing, they just added that new welcome mat, and that's really nice because I think they had a welcome mat from For Rent that I had in the game, but that was the only one, and so I didn't really love using that one because I felt like I just had to use it over and over again. And so having a base game one now that every player can access, and then also have some variety in what we have, is pretty cool. And then also the different swatches on that floor mat are for different holidays. So if you're playing a household and they're living in the same house and seasons change, you can go ahead and update your welcome mat along with that, which I thought was pretty cute. And now I am moving on into the upstairs of this build. Like I said, there are 2 bedrooms, and I'm currently furnishing kind of what I consider to be the master suite, which is where I imagine the adult daughter of this household lives, so kind of the owner of this house. And for this, I wanted to give her like kind of, a sleeping area, but then also an area for, I imagine that she like grades and does a bit of teaching work like whenever she's off the clock. And so that's why I included a chair and a little nightstand in the back. And you'll see that on that little end table I put some files and some stuff where I imagine she kind of gets some work done in there. And then both of the bedrooms on this floor kind of share that bathroom. I think it's called like a Jack and Jill bathroom whenever that's the case. And so there's no like master suite, but they both share it. And overall, I really like how these bedrooms turned out. I don't really use the bed from cottage living all that often, but I feel like it really matches the wallpaper and just the rest of the colors that I went with in this room. And so I think it works really well, and I should probably use that a decent amount in the future. And yeah, now I'm just cluttering up the dresser, really just trying to make it look like someone actually lives in this bedroom. And now I'm moving on into the mom's bedroom, the elderly mom who I kind of imagine that lived here, and hers is much smaller than the master bedroom, and so there really isn't a whole lot in here, just a small stand-up wardrobe for her to store her clothing, a bed, a nightstand, and I think I put a hamper because there is laundry on this house, in this household, and just some wall decorations. So as far as laundry is concerned, the house on the very left and the house on the very right, I did put hampers and washing machines and dryers in there, so your Sims can use them if they want and have laundry on the lot. But I didn't do that for the house in the middle, and firstly, it was kind of just a space thing. I didn't really have space for it in the house in the middle. And then also, I know not everyone likes to play with laundry, so I don't want to include it all of the time. I sometimes will play with laundry, I sometimes won't. It really depends on how I'm feeling. And it really also depends on like how much work my Sims are having to do. Like if I have like a bunch of lot challenges on a lot already, I don't want to add laundry onto my plate because that's so much to do. But if there's like, I feel like it's realistic and I don't mind having laundry on it sometimes if I have the means to be able to do it. And so yeah, that's why some of them will have laundry and some of them won't. But you can see now I am moving on into the second house, which is the middle house, and I'm currently doing the kitchen. And this kitchen is pretty big for the size of the house in general. And one thing that I really liked about this kitchen is that there's kind of like these French doors that open up into it from the living room. And yeah, I went with these brown countertops from Base Game. I find that I use these all the time because they're just really nice. They're simple. I can't say they're like great in every situation. They're more traditional counters, so I definitely wouldn't use this in a more modern or contemporary house. But I feel like we have countertops in the game that fill that niche pretty well. And so yeah, now I'm going in and I'm just cluttering up this kitchen. Again, I just really like it whenever my houses look lived in, not necessarily like they're so cluttered that it makes it hard to do gameplay or it looks kind of messy, but enough to where it really looks like Sims actually exist here in their daily life. And so yeah, that's why I'm going up and doing the clutter now. I did do a mix of cabinets and shelving in this kitchen, and really the main reason for that, as opposed to just having cabinets, is because of the windows. I didn't want the cabinets to necessarily block the windows, but the only cabinets that would work on top of it are like those really tiny ones that you can do on top of the window. And firstly, I feel like no one could reach that without getting a stool or anything if this was real life, and I feel like that just is kind of unnecessary. And then two, I feel like it looked weird, and so as a result I just did like a little bit of cabinetry on the left side of the kitchen, and then on that right side of the exterior wall there, on the right side of the window, I just put a couple shelves in there and cluttered that up. And one thing about this kitchen, since it's so big, that was really nice is that I was able to put in a little breakfast nook area, like a little table. Since there isn't any like formal dining room area in here, I wanted to include some place for your Sims to eat, and so there are those bar stools on the kitchen island that they can eat, and then they can also eat at this table as well. So technically 7 Sims can eat in this kitchen. If you can actually get your Sims all to sit around the table together and eat at the same time, that's a little harder, just because I feel like Sims are programmed to be so chaotic. They never do what you want them to do. That's why I feel like managing different events like parties, weddings, that type of thing, it's always so hard to get your Sims to actually do what they want them to do. And that extends to just like normal sitting around the table and eating a meal as well. And yeah, now I am going in and I'm doing the living room, and you can see right now that in the floor plan the entrance area and the living room area are separate, but I do go in and change that so that it's kind of open, but I do it in a way where there's like a platform, so the entrance is going to be raised with one platform height, I guess, and there's gonna be a half wall for half of it and then some columns and spandrels, and then that kind of creates an illusion of it being a little bit separated but also more open at the same time. And I really liked how it turned out. It gave some variety as to what was kind of going on in the house, and yeah, you'll see that in a minute. I think I finished furnishing the living room, and then as I do the entranceway, I finally get the idea. So I mentioned earlier that this house has 3 bedrooms, and kind of the storyline I had for the Sims living in this house is that there is a single mom and her 2 twin daughters living here, and I imagine that they're pretty young kids. But recently she had to go in and take in her nephew, who is a teen, and his bedroom is going to be the one on the first floor, which I'll get into furnishing in a minute. And so as a result, she's had to kind of consolidate her house and kind of accommodate him as well, and it's a little bit cramped in here as a result. And so they're just kind of trying to figure out a new dynamic of living together and kind of dealing, and well, not really dealing, but creating like this new addition into the family. And yeah, you can see right now that I am now furnishing the entryway, and I really liked how it turned out, like I said. And yeah, I imagine another thing with the storyline is that the teen boy in this household, so the nephew of the woman who owns it, I imagine that he kind of has a crush on the teenage girl that lives in the 3rd house, or the house on the right, which I will furnish in just a minute. I also kind of imagined for this storyline that the single mom who owns this household kind of works multiple jobs. I'm not quite sure what career I want her in, but I do know that I want her to also have a part-time job along with that. I maybe like the retail career or something like that. I haven't quite decided. I haven't made these Sims yet either, but when I do, I'll go ahead and update that to show it. And as a result, I imagine the kids are pretty close with their extended family since they're over all the time kind of babysitting and watching them. And yeah, now I'm moving into the teen boys household. Pretty small bedroom, so I couldn't really do a whole lot in here. However, I do really like how it turned out. I think it still does have some personality to it despite being pretty small. There's only a twin bed in here, and usually whenever I do teen bedrooms, I try to give them like a double bed, but that was not possible in this one, so I couldn't do that. And as a result, I had to do kind of like the 1 tile versions for all the furniture pieces, like dresser, desk, bed. And I do really like how it turned out despite it being so cramped. And also with this teen, I imagine that he's really into music. That's kind of his little personality artwork. And so see, now I'm kind of going in and I'm putting in just some different posters, kind of make it, again, looks like someone actually lives in this room. And I do a lot of music themed posters because I imagine that's what he's into. I also do put a guitar down as well. And that desk there, I do clutter it up a little bit, but I still have it so that your sim should be able to go in and do some homework. And recently, whenever I've been cluttering stuff up, I've been doing more of the collectible items, which is not something that I've really done a whole lot of in the past. And so it's been really fun to get to play around with those items. I don't know why I really didn't do it before, but now that I kind of have been doing that a little bit more, it makes it a lot easier to clutter things up because I have so much more to choose from. And I think it's kind of cool to imagine Sims like, you know, having collectibles and collecting things, and which is something that like people do in real life all the time. And so yeah, I was able to put that in, and that was pretty fun. And now you can see in just a minute I'm going up and I'm furnishing the top 2 bedrooms in this. And so one of them is going to be kind of the master suite, and then the other one is going to be where the 2 twin daughters live in, and then there's a little hallway loft area, and then there's also a bathroom that both of them kind of access at the same time. In order to get that bathroom to work, I had to play around with the floor plan of this upstairs area for quite a bit. It's really only built for like one big bedroom and a bathroom, but I didn't want to have that in there because I felt like that just wasn't the way I wanted. I wanted there to be 3 bedrooms in this house. And so I did find a way to make it work, but it did involve me messing around with a lot of things to finally get a layout that made sense and didn't look really weird. And so yeah, you can see right now I'm currently furnishing the bedroom for the twin daughters that live here. I do change this wall color to be more of a pink color in a minute, and I used the bunk beds from the Horse Ranch expansion pack, which is not a bed that I use very often, and so I really like that I was able to kind of play around with that. And now I'm going in and doing what I imagine to be kind of the master. This was the only room that I was able to fit a double bed into, and I had to kind of put it against the wall. So it's not, I don't think your Sims, I know your Sims can sleep, but I don't think they can do other things in the bed, and I'll leave that at that. But it is kind of cramped in this bedroom, and I kind of did that by design. I did that on purpose because I do imagine, like I said, that this household does kind of struggle for money a little bit. You know, like I said, the person who is like inhabits this bedroom, the mom of the household, she works a lot of jobs just to try to get by. And yeah, I didn't really, as a result, since there wasn't a whole lot of room, I couldn't really do a whole lot with this bedroom. And so it's really just me putting some small furniture bits. That dresser that is used in this room, I think it came in a base game update randomly, but it was really helpful in this because it takes up like next to no space. And then I just put a mirror next to it, and that was that. Again, not really a whole lot going on in this bedroom. And then for the hallway outside, I went and I put a table with some clutter on it, and then I did put in a basket full of toys in there as well, because I imagine that the kids in this house do play in here. Probably they play a lot in their room, but then also maybe in this little hallway loft area as well. And yeah, one thing with the houses that I did have to fix is that I forgot to mention this, is in the first house I forgot to put roof trim on one of them, and so I did go back and fix that. So in the screenshots you'll see that there is no like roofing trim for like the back half of the house, but there is in the front half. That is gonna be fixed whenever it goes up on the gallery. And then there's something else as well, but I currently cannot remember it. But anyways, it's fixed. So if you see an error in the video or like something that I forgot to do, that might be the thing that I am forgetting right now, but I did go back and fix. And now I'm going in and I am furnishing the house on the right. So the one that already had that exterior done whenever I started recording the build, that's the house that I am now furnishing. And for this one, I did cut out, and on that middle house as well, and actually for all three of the houses, I went and like also cut out the kind of backyard furnishing, if that makes sense. Not really furnishing, but like putting in different activities for your Sims to do. I try to give each house like an activity outside that your Sims can do, whether that be planter boxes or a swing set or a kiddie pool, just something that your Sims are able to kind of do in this household. But yeah, anyways, I cut out that portion for this house as well. And yeah, now I'm just doing the living room, and I really like how this living room turned out. I feel like it looks pretty cozy. I used those base game couches and chair sets, and I did it in the cream color. However, I go in and I put in some throw pillows, and I kind of angle them with the tool mod, and I think that makes it look just a lot nicer in general. I really like how the Sims team has been adding in throw pillows recently, so you can kind of customize those couches and get them to look however you want. And I also like that they've been putting in like just throw blankets and pillows on the couches in general, because I feel like for the first like 6-7 years of this game, it was pretty rare that we would get a new couch and it would actually have some sort of pillow or blanket detail on it, and that's not realistic. Again, like I feel like a lot of houses, my house, there's pillows and blankets on the couch, you know, because people live there and they do things in the living room, and I'm glad that they're finally starting to add that in there. And now I'm working on the dining room, and I decided to incorporate that round table. I forget which pack it is from. That might be the one from Laundry Day, the Laundry Day stuff pack. I'm not 100% sure. But I've been really into using round tables lately for dining rooms, and then having the chairs around that. I don't know, I just think it looks really nice. So I put that in, and as you can see, I just put in some clutter, and I'm just kind of arranging that on the wall as well. And that the wallpaper that I used throughout this house, I believe this is from the wallpaper in this room is from Realm of Magic. And for a lot of the other rooms, I just kind of did some base game wallpapering in there, nothing crazy. I just kind of wanted to make it look like this house is a little bit older, maybe a little bit dated. I don't think it looks bad or anything like that, but definitely hasn't been updated recently. And same with the last house that I just furnished, so the house in the middle. I imagine that they both are just a little bit dated. They haven't been renovated in a while. So the first house I furnished is really the only one that's kind of more, not necessarily modern, but more up to date, more newer, I guess is a way to put it. And yeah, now I'm going in and I'm doing the kitchen. I was able to put in another little breakfast nook area, so your Sims will have the dining room and that little table and chairs for them to sit and eat at, as well as 2 little bar stools on the kitchen island as well. I'm just going in now, and again, I am cluttering up the kitchen, and at some point, yeah, I add that range hood in there, and I think they just added new swatches to that range hood, because for the longest time there were only 3 in there, and so it's really nice that they went and added some more, because now I feel like I can use it in so many more different settings, whereas I wasn't really able to go and do that before. So out of all of the 3 houses, I think the family that I have in mind for this household, I have their storyline kind of developed the least. What I kind of imagine here is that there is a mom and a dad, and then there is a teenage daughter, there is a boy who is a kid, and then there is an infant who is a girl. And you'll see that kind of reflected in the bedrooms that I'm about to furnish. And I don't really have a whole lot in mind for what I want each sim to kind of be like. However, I did kind of want to carry that storyline along, where the teenage girl of this household and the teenage boy of the previous house that I just furnished, or the house in the middle, they kind of into each other, and you know, it's kind of like boy next door type of thing. They've been kind of into each other for a little bit, and so that's really all I was kind of thinking for this one. I'm sure as I kind of develop the lore for my save file and create the Sims for it, I'll start to get a better picture of who I have in mind living here. But for right now, that's really all I have. I think for this household, I'll have kind of the parents have more of a complicated backstory, because I think it's really hard with younger Sims, like kids, toddlers, infants, and even teenagers to an extent, to have like a really cool, really thought out backstory to them. And that's not always the case, but sometimes. And since this house is mostly made up of younger Sims, I feel like I kind of need to focus on the parents as like them having a sizable backstory. So yeah, I think at some point I will come up with a better origin story for the parents, and then kind of finish up the details of what I kind of imagined the teenage girl in this household is like. I do really like how the room that she's inhabiting turns out the room she lives in, that's how people normally say it, how I really like how that room ended up turning out. I use a lot of the furnishings from high school years, like that bedroom set, and then I also used the TV from Tiny Living, and then I just kind of went in and I cluttered it up a decent amount. But I feel like it looks nice in that it has a decent amount of stuff in it and it's all one general color scheme, but there isn't too much. Sometimes I like to add a bunch of mess in teenagers' bedrooms because it is kind of realistic. A lot of teenagers are just a little bit messy, but I find that makes it pretty hard gameplay wise to actually go in and use all of the stuff in the room. I think there's an object where it's like 4 tiles wide, it's like a 2x2, and it's just a bunch of mess, and it's really fun to put in the bedrooms. However, you kind of have to do it really strategically because a lot of times that blocks where your Sims are actually able to go. And yeah, now I'm going in and I'm furnishing the kid's bedroom in this household. I imagine that this kid is pretty athletic and he's into soccer, and that's about all I have for this kid. And so you can kind of see that reflected in the decorations that I choose for this bedroom. I have that soccer lamp there, some posters, and then there's also a clutter item where it's just a bunch of sports equipment, and so I went and I put that down as well. Alright, and I've been talking for about 40 minutes now, and I think I've said about all I have to say about these houses here, so I'm gonna go ahead and leave this voiceover right here. If you did enjoy the video, please feel free to like, comment, or subscribe. Let me know what you'd like to see next, and if you want to download this house, you can. It will be on the gallery under the EA account ID kalimsiYT, spelled KALIMSIYT. And yeah, there will be screenshots at the end of this video of everything, including all the rooms I cut out. So enjoy those, and I will catch you all in the next one. Bye everyone.